The last time my mother called my name, I was standing in a hospital hallway with a suitcase in my hand. I had spent the previous 5 years trying to build a life without her. I had convinced myself that she had abandoned me, that she had chosen her illness over me, that she had let me grow up alone. But then, just before she died, my mother looked at me and whispered, "Promise me you won't hate yourself for what I did." I thought she was talking about the years she had missed. I thought she was asking me to forgive her. I was wrong. Because when I discovered the truth about my mother's sacrifice, I realized something that broke my heart completely. She had never abandoned me. She had been protecting me. And the entire time, I thought she was choosing herself, she had been choosing me. My name is Emily Carter. I was 31 years old when I received the phone call that changed everything. It was 6:42 in the morning. I remember the exact time because I had just placed a cup of coffee on my desk when my phone began to ring. The number was unfamiliar. I almost ignored it. I was working in a small marketing office in Chicago, and I had already been awake since 5 in the morning preparing for an important presentation. My life had become organized, predictable, safe. I had a small apartment, a stable job, a few close friends, and most importantly, I had learned how to live without my mother. At least, that was what I told myself. The phone rang again. I answered. "Hello, is this Emily Carter?" "Yes, my name is Daniel Ross. I'm a nurse at St. Mary's Hospital." My heart suddenly started beating faster. "Why are you calling me?" There was a short silence. Then he said, "Your mother was brought in last night." I stopped breathing. "My mother? Linda Carter." I stared at the wall in front of me. For 5 years, I had refused to speak to her. 5 years since the last time I had seen her. 5 years since I had walked out of her house and promised myself I would never go back. "She's very sick," the nurse continued. I closed my eyes. The words I had spent years trying to avoid were suddenly standing in front of me. My mother was sick, and I had no idea. "What happened?" I whispered. "She has advanced cancer." The room became silent. I heard the traffic outside, the sound of a printer, someone laughing in the hallway, but everything around me felt far away. "How long has she been sick?" The nurse paused. "Emily, she's been receiving treatment for a long time." "How long?" Another silence. "Several years." "Several years," I sat down. My mother had been sick for several years, and I had known nothing, because I had blocked her number, ignored her letters, returned every package she had sent me. I had made sure she couldn't reach me, and now a stranger was calling to tell me that she might be dying. "Can I see her?" I asked. "Yes." I didn't tell my boss anything. I didn't tell my friends. I simply grabbed my coat, took my keys, and left. For the first time in 5 years, I was going back to my mother. When I entered the hospital room, I almost didn't recognize her. My mother had always been strong. She had been the kind of woman who carried heavy grocery bags with both hands and refused help. The kind of woman who worked 2 jobs while raising me. The kind of woman who never complained. But the woman lying in that hospital bed looked fragile. Her face was pale. Her hair was thin. Her hands were covered with small bruises. And when she opened her eyes, I saw something I had not expected. Fear. "Emily?" Her voice was weak. I stood in the doorway. She looked at me for several seconds. Then she smiled. Not a big smile, just a small, tired smile. "You came?" I didn't know what to say. I wanted to tell her that I was angry. I wanted to ask her why she had disappeared from my life, why she had stopped fighting for me, why she had allowed me to grow up believing I wasn't important enough. But instead I said, "How long have you been sick?" She looked away. "That's not the first thing you should ask. It's the first thing I want to know." She took a slow breath. 5 years. I stared at her. 5 years, the same amount of time since I had left. "Why didn't you tell me?" She didn't answer. "Mom, why didn't you tell me?" "Because you were finally happy." I laughed bitterly. "Happy? Yes. You have no idea what my life was like after I left. I know more than you think." That sentence made me angry. "You knew?" She looked at me. "I always knew." I turned away. For 5 years, I had believed my mother had forgotten me. And now, she was telling me, she had been watching from a distance. "Why?" I asked. She closed her eyes. "Because you asked me to." I froze. I didn't remember asking her anything. I remembered the night I left. I remembered screaming. I remembered throwing clothes into a suitcase. I remembered telling her, "I don't want you in my life anymore." But I didn't remember asking her to stay away forever. My mother looked at me. "You said you wanted a chance to become someone without being responsible for me." I felt my chest tighten. I had said that, I remembered, but I had been 26. Angry, exhausted, and afraid. My mother had been sick even then, but I hadn't known how sick. I had only known that she constantly needed help. Appointments, medicine, bills, groceries, and I had been tired. So tired. I had wanted a normal life. A life where I didn't have to worry about whether my mother would be alive when I came home. I had wanted to travel, to build a career, to fall in love, and I had hated myself for wanting those things. So one night, during an argument, I said something cruel. "I can't spend the rest of my life being your caretaker." My mother had looked at me, and she had simply said, "Then don't." I thought she didn't care. I thought she was giving up on me. But now, sitting beside her hospital bed, I wondered if I had misunderstood everything. My father had died when I was 14. After that, my mother became everything. She was my parent, my teacher, my protector, my entire world. She worked at a grocery store during the day and cleaned offices at night. I remember waking up at 2 in the morning and seeing her still wearing her work uniform. She would come home exhausted, but whenever she saw me, she smiled. "Did you eat?" That was always her first question. Not, "How was your day?" Not, "Did you finish your homework?" Just, "Did you eat?" When I was 17, I received a scholarship to attend college in another state. I was excited. But my mother wasn't, not because she didn't want me to go, because she was already sick. She had been diagnosed with a serious illness. The doctors told her she needed regular treatment. She told me nothing. I only discovered the truth because I found a hospital bill in the kitchen. I confronted her. She denied it. Then I confronted her again. Finally, she admitted it. "I didn't want you to worry. You're my mother, and you're my daughter. That's exactly why I should know." She looked at me. "You should be worrying about your future." That was the beginning of the distance between us. I started college. She insisted I go. Every time I wanted to come home, she told me not to. Every time I wanted to help pay her medical bills, she refused. Every time I called, she said she was fine. Eventually, I started believing her. Or maybe I just wanted to. I graduated. I got a job. I moved to Chicago. My mother stayed behind. The calls became shorter, then less frequent. Then one day we had the argument that ended everything. I told her I couldn't keep living my life around her illness. She said, "Then live your life." I heard rejection, but maybe she meant freedom. The next morning I went to my mother's house. It looked exactly the same. The old blue curtains, the small flower garden, the wooden porch where I had sat as a child. I unlocked the door with the spare key the nurse had given me. Inside, everything was clean. Too clean. My mother had always been organized. But now I noticed small things. A walking cane near the sofa. Medicine bottles beside the kitchen sink. A calendar filled with hospital appointments. I stood there, staring at the dates. She had been living with this illness for years. Alone, I walked into my old bedroom. Nothing had changed. My childhood books were still on the shelf. A small stuffed bear still sat on the bed, and on the desk was a box. My name was written on it. I opened it. Inside were letters, dozens of them. Some were old, some were recent. All of them were addressed to me. I picked up the first one. The date was 6 years earlier, the year I had left. I opened it. "Dear Emily, I know you are angry with me. I know you think I am holding you back. Maybe I am. Maybe my illness has made you feel like you have to choose between being my daughter and becoming your own person. I never wanted that. So I am making a promise. I will never ask you to give up your life for me, even if that means you leave. Even if that means you hate me. I would rather have you hate me and live freely than love me and spend your entire life feeling trapped. Love, Mom." I read the letter twice. Then I sat on the floor. My hands began to shake. I picked up another letter, and another. One from the day I got my first promotion, one from my birthday, one from the day I moved into my apartment, one from the day I had posted a photo online with my friends. My mother had written letters about everything. She knew about my job, my friends, my apartment. She had been watching, but she had never contacted me. Not because she didn't care, because she had promised. I found a letter dated 2 years earlier. "Emily, today I saw a picture of you smiling. You looked happy. I stared at that picture for almost an hour. I wanted to call you, but I remembered what you said. You wanted to become someone without carrying me, so I stayed silent. I hope you know that my silence is not punishment. It is love, Mom." I couldn't breathe. For 5 years I had thought my mother had abandoned me, but she had been loving me from a distance. Because I had asked her to, there was one more envelope. It was larger than the others. On the front, my mother had written, "Open this only when you are ready." I almost didn't open it, but I did. Inside was a stack of documents. The first was a bank statement. I looked at the amount. Then I looked again. I couldn't believe it. There was a college savings account. It had been created when I was 16. The account had enough money to cover my entire college education, but I had never known about it. I had believed my scholarship had been my only option. The next document was a loan statement. My mother had taken out a second mortgage on the house. Why? I kept reading. Then I found the truth. My college scholarship had not covered everything. There had been a gap. My mother had secretly paid it. She had sold her car, taken a second job, and borrowed money. Also, I could finish school without debt. I had always believed I had built my life alone, but my mother had been standing behind me the entire time, quietly, secretly, sacrificing everything. I found another document, a medical record. Her illness had become serious shortly after I graduated. She had needed a major operation, but the operation was expensive, and there was a note from the doctor. Patient declined recommended treatment at this time. I stared at the words. Why? Then I saw the financial records. The money she had saved for her treatment had been transferred to an account. My account. My mother had used the money she had saved for her medical treatment to help me move to Chicago, to pay my apartment deposit, to help me start my new life. I dropped the papers. I finally understood. She had chosen my future over her own health. And when I had left, she had allowed me to believe she didn't care. Because if I had known the truth, I would have come back. I would have quit my job. I would have taken care of her. And she had never wanted that. She wanted me to live, even if living meant losing her. I went back to the hospital that evening. My mother was awake. She looked at me and immediately knew something had changed. You found the box, she said. I sat beside her. Why didn't you tell me? She smiled faintly. Because you would have come back. Yes, that was exactly what I didn't want. Why? Because you had finally built a life. I started crying. I am your daughter. I know. You were sick. I know. You needed me. She reached for my hand. I needed you to be my daughter, Emily. Not my nurse, not my caretaker, not the person who gave up everything because she felt guilty. I couldn't speak. She continued. I watched you grow up believing that love meant sacrifice. I looked at her. What? You saw me sacrifice everything for you? You thought that was what love was? She squeezed my hand. But love is not always about giving up your life for someone else. I cried harder. Then why did you give up yours? She looked toward the window. Because you were my child. That doesn't make it fair. No, she smiled sadly. Love isn't always fair. I lowered my head onto her hand. For the first time in 5 years, I cried like a child. I thought you didn't want me anymore. My mother ran her fingers through my hair. I wanted you so much that I let you go. Those words broke something inside me. My mother had 3 weeks left. The doctors didn't say it directly, but we both knew. I moved into her house. I took time off work, and for the first time in years, we lived together. We talked about everything. My childhood, my father, my first love, her first job, the mistakes we had both made. One night I asked her, were you ever angry with me? She thought about it. Yes, I looked at her. For what? For leaving. My heart broke. But you told me to leave. I know. Then why were you angry? She smiled. Because I was your mother. We both laughed. Then she became quiet. Emily, I need you to promise me something. What? Don't spend the rest of your life trying to make up for the years you missed. I looked at her. I can't promise that. You have to. I wasted 5 years. No, you were sick and I wasn't here. You were living. I should have known. You should have been allowed to live. I shook my head. I don't know how to forgive myself. My mother looked at me. Then forgive me first. For what? For making you believe you had to choose. I stared at her. She continued, I should have told you the truth. Why didn't you? Because I was afraid. Of what? That if you knew how sick I was, you would stop being my daughter and start being my caregiver. I didn't know what to say. She looked at me. I wanted my daughter back. I held her hand. You have me now. She smiled. Yes. Then she closed her eyes. The last morning was quiet. There was no dramatic music, no warning, no final speech, just sunlight coming through the window. My mother was lying in bed. I was sitting beside her. She looked peaceful. Emily? Yes. Did you eat? I started crying. She smiled. Mom, I'm serious. Yes. Good. That was my mother. Even when she was dying, she wanted to know if I had eaten. I held her hand. I love you. She looked at me. I know. No, I shook my head. I need you to hear me. She opened her eyes. I love you. She smiled. I love you too. I rested my head beside her. For a few minutes, neither of us spoke. Then she whispered, promise me one thing. What? Don't make your life a punishment. I began crying. Promise me. I held her hand tightly. I promise. She closed her eyes, and a few minutes later she was gone. After my mother died, I found one final letter. It was hidden inside the old stuffed bear from my childhood. The letter was short. Dear Emily, if you are reading this, then I am no longer there to tell you what to do, so I will tell you one last time. Live, not the life you think you owe me, not the life you think will make up for the past. Your own life, fall in love, travel, make mistakes, laugh loudly, forgive yourself. And when you become a mother someday, don't teach your child that love means losing yourself. Teach them that sometimes love means letting someone go. I spent my entire life trying to give you everything. But the truth is you gave me something too. You gave me a reason to keep going. Every time I was tired, I thought of you. Every time I was afraid, I thought of you. Every time I wanted to give up, I remembered that somewhere in the world my daughter was living. And that was enough. I was never angry that you left. I was proud that you had the courage to go. I love you. Always, Mom. I read the letter sitting on the floor of my old bedroom. The same room where I had once dreamed about leaving. The same room where I had believed my mother was holding me back. And finally, I understood. She had never been holding me back. She had been holding me up. It's been 3 years since my mother died. I still have bad days. Sometimes I see a woman in a grocery store who looks like her. Sometimes I hear an old song and suddenly I am 17 again. Sometimes I pick up my phone because I want to call her. Then I remember. She is gone, but I also remember something else. She gave me permission to live, so I did. I changed jobs, I traveled, I made friends, I fell in love, and eventually I became a mother myself. The first time I held my daughter, I understood my mother in a way I never had before. I understood why she sacrificed. I understood why she let me go. And I understood why she had been willing to break her own heart, because sometimes a mother's greatest act of love is not holding her child close. Sometimes it is opening her hands. I still keep my mother's letters, every single one, and whenever I miss her, I read the one sentence she wrote that changed my life forever. Don't make your life a punishment. So I don't. I live, I laugh, I love. And every time I do, a small part of my mother lives with me, because she didn't really leave me. She simply gave me the life she had sacrificed everything to give. And now I finally understand the price she paid. Some mothers give their children money, some give them houses, some give them opportunities. But my mother gave me something much bigger. She gave me her entire life and then asked me not to waste mine.